Okay.
4, 3.
Good evening. Today is Wednesday, November 9th, 2016. This is the monthly meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. I would ask our members to introduce themselves, starting from my right.
Janice King, member.
Kathy Chappell, Secretary.
Ron Moat, Vice President.
Matt Bellner, member.
And I'm Donald Webb, the president. We will start off tonight. I will ask if there were any questions on the meeting minutes from last month. And would someone like to make if there were, correct them. If not, make a motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes for last month are approved. This month, we have two sets of bills, it looks like. We have one for $843, which was, includes the sewage works and some of our lawyer bills, and I'm not sure what else is in this one, not much. It looks like it's a couple of lawyer bills or one lawyer bill in our sewage works. And then the other one is and that one was for $843.45. And then we have one for $4,827.50. And let's see here, it also includes a sewer bill. And it includes a bill for regions. And here it is. Regions in the amount of $806.25. Tim Showalter, who does our filming, for $225. And Crossroads Engineers, $2,875. That was part of the $30,000 we approved to finish out this year for environmental studies on the Greenway. Those are all the bills listed. If anybody has any questions, I'll take them. If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve payment of those bills.
So move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty, it's approved. Mac, if you'd like to start off signing them tonight. First up, we're going to let Jeff Peters, who's our consultant, talk to us about possibly refinancing our bonds.
Thank you all for the opportunity to be here tonight. A little bit of background on the outstanding bond issues that you have at the Redevelopment Commission. You had one issuance done in 2005, another issuance in 2007. Both of those were 15-year terms. The brief summary of the original terms of the bonds is they could not be refunded in their current form until they had been outstanding for 10 years. And then they also had 1% premiums to refund those bonds. And the reason that had to be done is that was the only way to get the bonds sold at the point in time when they were issued. Like in 2005, it was speculative based on Walmart finishing its project. So there was nothing actually standing there. So those were typical terms at the time that the bonds were issued. Since that point in time, interest rates have dropped significantly. We have watched for several years trying to find an opportunity for you to refund those and have some interest savings. One of the problems that we've run into is finding the correct timing of when we could do, if you refund or refinance the bonds after that 10-year period, it's called a current refunding. If you do it prior to that 10-year period, it's called an advance refunding. And at that point, you have to buy municipal pieces of federal investments and escrow that money in order to make those payments up until the time that you can actually call those bonds and then bring them in and refund them.
So right now we could refinance one.
You could do one current and you could do one as an advance. And you only get one opportunity to do an advance refunding.
Okay.
The other thing, because the two are outstanding, what we had wanted to do was to get it so that we could refund both of those into one issuance so that we could incorporate the professional fees for our firm, bond counsel, legal counsel. Because as we continued to run these analyses over the last few years, we couldn't get to a scenario where we could save enough money Whenever you do one of these refinancings, you have a requirement that you have to show a net present value savings in order to do it. The other thing is you typically make a judgment call as to how much that net present value savings should be. And the rule of thumb is it should be at least 3% to make it worthwhile, so that we're not just doing professional work and generating fees, and that we're not taking away an opportunity cost of your one chance to advance refund. So at this point in time, the one bond issue is current. The other one is only about a year out. So purchasing that, those federal investments in order to escrow would be feasible at this point to do. I went back to an investment bank, and we've done this a few times over the last few years. But I've got estimates where if we go through a conventional investment bank, refund those, you could save about $51,000 net present value of interest savings, which is only about 2%. So since we had a live funding model that, you know, potentially you guys could consider, we went back to the holder of your bonds, which is Regions Bank, and said, you know, we're in a position now, we're going to refund these. Do you guys want to buy them back? And at this point, we're waiting for final approval. 2 days ago, the people at Regions sent to their loan committee the proposal. We've been through a lot of the revenue projections, looking at all the different parcels. I've supplied them with all that information. They've gone through their underwriting process. So her thought yesterday was within 24 hours, they should have approval for the rate that they gave us. The rate that they gave us was 2.4%. They wanted $3,500 for legal fees on their end in order to close it. But they're going to waive all those 1% penalties. And it appears that they're going to let you refund that set of 2007 series that really can't be called for the next year, which is a really big savings. So if we put all that together, net it out against professional fees, and look at net present value savings, it looks like it's going to be about $124,000, or about 4.6%. So, great opportunity.
Can I ask another question?
Certainly.
I always ask questions. Do you normally combine bonds like this, or would you ever just do one now since it's already come to term, and then take care of the next one once it comes to term? Or are you smarter to do it now because you're saving legal fees and stuff?
Yeah, the legal fees are significant. Our fees are not insignificant. For this estimate, legal, if we can get it back to a local bank, bond counsel wants $18,000. If we have to go through an investment bank, it's going to be about $23,000. Our costs, I would estimate, are going to be about $14,000.
Why so high?
There's a lot of liability in issuing that tax-exempt bank-qualified statement on behalf of the banks. And, of course, they wrap us into that liability because we'll have to provide all the calculations and financial data that backs up their legal opinion.
What's the liability? I don't understand.
If, and Bob may be able to speak to this more articulately than I can, but the federal tax laws that allow you to issue tax exempt regulate how it is that you can have these bonds outstanding, how you can and can't call them and refund them. And the failure to meet those requirements in any regard could be that the bonds then become taxable back to the beginning. So then whoever you sold them to are going to come back and sue you and me.
They sue bond counsel and bond
Okay.
counsel then wraps in Jeff.
Well, that certainly answered that.
So, yeah, as soon as if anything goes bad, whoever was left holding the bag sues everybody else.
Okay.
So it's, yeah, kind of a necessary evil to do belts and suspenders, go through all of it,
Gotcha.
make sure it all
Are we
falls out.
combining these two into one?
Yes.
So, because I thought one of them was gonna be paid off in 2021, and the other one was in 2023. Was that correct, or was that wrong?
Right, and if you look at that principal schedule, you'll see in 2021, it falls from about 260,000 a year to 130.
And there's no way we could accelerate that to pay
You,
off early?
you could,
I don't know, I doubt it'll be on it then, but, so in other words, if we were paying 260,000, we could even knock knock a year off, or 2 years off easily just by doubling up our payment, you know?
if you wanted to expend your cash, yes, you could, at this point in time, call whatever amount that you want.
Okay,
You know, if you guys decide there's a certain dollar figure that you want to throw at it to eliminate debt, then this would be the time that you can do that and you can buy it down.
okay, that'd be great.
But we still have to do this analysis in its current form because we are comparing what you have outstanding
Sure,
versus what the solution's gonna be.
sure.
And then we have to net present value that and proof that out to the attorneys so that it meets the statute in order for you to refund.
Do we have enough extra to buy it down?
You have some cash.
We have some cash, but we've also next year committed to the Greenway of $97,000. Now,
Yeah.
looking at our numbers, Crossroads hasn't hit us, easy for me to say that, I'm sorry. Crossroads has not hit us very hard. I figure we're gonna finish the year at probably between 170 and 180,000. Next year, our expected revenue that we'll have in here will be about 190,000, so that's about $350,000. I don't think at this point it does us any good to buy it down.
Fine, you had just made mention of it, I
Yeah,
wondered.
well,
if we
I
had
was
the
thinking more
cash.
along the lines when we got to 2021 and our payments dropped from 260 to 130.
Oh, I see,
I was just saying,
okay.
if you kept it at 260 for 2 years, you'd eliminate 22 and 23.
Mm-hmm.
And but, by then, who knows what they're gonna wanna do, so there's just more of a question than
I
anything
got you,
else.
okay.
But how quickly, so we could close on this typically pretty quick?
It'll depend on bond counsel. We've talked with Heather James from Ice Miller, and it'll probably depend on their schedule and how quickly they can get to it. But it would be anticipated that we would close it, as quickly as it can get through you. I assume it has to go through the approval of the city council as a fiscal body. Do you know that? That's just my guess.
I think we should.
I mean, I know if we issue new bonds, they have to go through them, so I would assume the refunding will have to go through them as well.
Do we also have to lock in like an interest rate, like when you,
You won't be able to lock in until we can get it closed.
right,
But-
so do we want to do it sooner, or are we anticipating interest might go up?
Well,
we don't
everybody has
care?
already anticipated that the December Fed meeting is going to be a 0.25% raise. So that's already baked into everybody's rates at this point in time.
Okay,
So I think as long as they don't go above that 0.25% or it lingers long enough that you get into another Fed meeting
okay.
that gets to another rate hike,
So we'd need
I
to
think you'll be
present-
fine.
We're gonna present our budget at the December 5th city council meeting, as well as our goals, and we'd need to present this too then, right?
If it can be ready at that point in time, I'm not sure.
Do you contemplate closing before the end of this calendar year?
Yes.
And I think that's gonna require, we'll need city council approval, but the RDC is gonna need to vote on a triggering resolution at least, which is a resolution that if a certain percentage of savings can be realized, then it's okay to go ahead and sell. And authorize the president and secretary to execute any documents that are associated with that sale, assuming those criteria are met. And I'm sure that Heather or whoever handles the bond work will prepare such resolutions, but there'll need to be a meeting in order to approve at least the initial yes, if we can realize, let's say 4% net of expenses, then
So do we have to have that meeting before the city council meeting so that we voted on it so that they can vote on?
I think the order between those two probably isn't that important.
Okay. We're gonna have to have a December meeting.
Well, I mean, as much as
I mean, you could vote tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Without a
we,
resolution.
I mean,
Or
we'll
we
do.
can?
Yes.
I mean, I'll do whatever we can. This is 124,000. I mean, that's
It's a
almost
lot of
a
money.
year's money we have.
Right.
So, you know, in my opinion, at least, I want, as aggressively as we can, I want to do this so that we can have, and I'm going to still present to the city council, and if we're not ready, I would still ask for their approval to do this.
And bond council may well say that you'll need another meeting in December, but tonight you could go ahead and say, if we realize X percentage net of savings, then Jeff is authorized to proceed with Regions Bank and, bond.
I mean, this is a good deal. I mean, this is a really good deal.
Well, this is the first time that I've finally got it into good enough positive territory that we could take it back to the bank and get them to bite. And, yeah, I thought that was a really good rate that they came through with. I assume they're going to approve that rate, just for the fact that 2.4 for the length of period of this. You know, it is strictly a revenue bond with no property tax backup, but that 2.4 should be a rate or close to it that they'll approve. Obviously, stuff that's backed on property tax is cheaper. In fact, we did a bond sale today for Johnson County. It was only about 2.5 years out, but interest cost was 1.42%.
We're seeing that in the school bonds.
Well, it's kind of like we bought everything on a credit card, so we're gonna have to pay more for it. So I get that, but I still want to be as aggressive with this as we can and get this done. And I'd make a motion or whatever we need to do that.
Jeff, what percentage are you absolutely confident that?
Well, the standard percentage to go forward is above 3%. So if I was going to advise on a motion, it would be that.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I was gonna make a motion that anything above 3%, you would proceed forward with, you know, and if we have to hold a meeting, we can do it pretty quickly, but, you know, this is $124,000. I mean, that's a fair amount of savings, and we're almost to 5% on the savings, and that's pretty impressive, given, when we talked about this, I think back in June or July, I came to you with the idea, and we couldn't even hardly reach 2%, it seemed like then, so we're in much more favorable territory, and combining the two into one, getting better interest, I think it's a better deal for us.
Yeah, and for regions to waive the fees and waive holding that last year of interest is a big deal.
So maybe you want your motion to say that, then the RDC approves moving forward on this refunding of both the 2005 and 2007 bond issues, the current refunding and advance refunding, provided that you can realize a net savings of at least 3%.
What you just said.
I knew
Yes.
that's what you were gonna
Did you get that all down?
Can't even begin to write that.
Yeah,
Are you comfortable with that, Jeff, the way that was?
I am, and, you know, I assume you're directing me to, as soon as we get the confirmation from regions, to contact Ice Miller and Bond Council and get everything underway. Because they'll put together a calendar that says when you have to meet, what you have to do, when the city council's meeting. Because if the city council only has to do it through a resolution, maybe they can do it in one meeting. I would assume because it's a refunding of bonds, it'll probably be an ordinance. So unless the mayor wants to go through unanimous consent, they may take 2 meetings to do it. So it may be January before it gets through.
I guess what I wanna do is I wanna make sure we keep this rate,
That's the way they talk about it.
keep this rate, and to your point, if the Fed raises in December and we don't have our ducks in a row, I don't wanna get stuck with where it bumps up and then we lose. We go from 4.64% down to 2%, it's no longer feasible. I mean, like I say, and I've talked to you about, we gotta strike while, the irons are hot, so to speak, and
Right, and
Yeah.
as soon as we get confirmation and talk to bond council and get some sort of calendar set, I will push forward with the city council and the mayor and
Right.
talk to them about how imperative it is to move quickly, make sure we
I mean, I
keep
don't know if
these
the city'd
rates.
have to have, the city council then would have to have a special meeting or whatever, but, you know, if we're not ready by the 5th, I would like to make sure that the mayor and the city council, if they have to hold a meeting the following week to discuss it, you know, whenever they do, but this is $124,000 in savings, and we need to be aggressive, and we need to stress to the city council, which I can do on the 5th meeting, the urgency of making sure we get this resolution passed or whatever we need to do to approve this, because this is a fair amount of savings.
And I can contact Craig tomorrow or Friday.
Okay. I'll email Dennis and after, or tomorrow too, and I'll let him know what's going on. Because, I mean, I just think it's really important, so.
So have you made your motion?
He entertains it.
I would entertain a motion
Someone
that
else has to make it.
Jeff is to continue moving forward as long as the savings realized by the reissuance of the bonds is greater than 3%. What was the other part I would need to motion?
Date them, 2005 and 2007. That should
2005,
probably be
2007.
named.
Those bonds would be paid off by 2023, with the first one actually paid off by 2021. Net savings would be roughly 124,000 at this point. It could be higher or lower based on what goes on, but I would ask for a motion that we have Jeff continue on with this.
I'll make a motion.
I'd ask for a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That works well. One thing I wanted to cover while you're here, Jeff, is Jeff gave us a copy of the budget, and I don't think it's set in stone yet, but yeah, if you didn't notice, if you guys remember, was it last year or the year before, Robert had talked about how stores like Lowe's and Walmart were going, and they were taking stores like the Kroger that had closed over on Thompson, and they said, this is really what the value of our store is. Well,
Yeah.
Lowe's did that, and they've knocked $30,000 off their tax bill. And because we fought to keep Beech Grove Station and keep it going, the money that's gonna come in from Beech Grove Station will roughly replace the money we lost for Lowe's. So again, kudos to you guys for supporting that project and getting it to the goal line, but that's the way I understand it. Am I fairly correct on that?
Right, that's going up, Lowe's is going down.
Has Walmart
Walmart's
done
ever-
anything?
Walmart's already gone down a year or two ago. They were before Lowe's.
Jeff, there was legislation passed in the last session, I realize it's not retroactive. Going forward, they won't be able to use the dark store virtually.
Depends on when it comes out of tax court, whether it survives or not.
Well,
Because I would assume they will challenge that. Because, you know, it is a valid argument that if I create a store and it is functionally obsolete as soon as I construct it because it's not useful for anybody else's purpose, that it really is the equivalent of a dark store.
but I thought the legislation passed this session
They did.
prospectively will
That is supposed to cure that.
past years, but for
Right, and that is supposed to cure it going forward, but again, I would caution you that that will probably get litigated, and how it comes out of tax court may or may not hold up.
they'd have to find it unconstitutional because it's not statute. I think, but we'll see.
And then one other question Kathy had was, we've been getting like 26,000 from St. Francis. Now, is that ours to spend, or we still need to be holding that out? I never did hear where the appeal went on that. I know we the big one, we gave the money back and we had the money, but we've been getting like 26,000 a year, I think, roughly.
Right, and I need to revisit with the clerk treasurer, because we had this conversation years ago when you guys first came on as council, as to, is the St. Francis properties supposed to be a separate allocation area and allocation fund? Because they were set up so that they could be, so that the bonds could be issued. The clerk treasurer has never separated those funds. They've been commingled from the beginning. It's not a huge effort to go back and segregate them. The other issue, though, and why I've never pushed it really hard about segregating it is the Redevelopment Commission probably spent $300,000 in professional fees to try and get that bond issue in the redevelopment of the hospital that never went through. So that redevelopment or allocation area owes the main redevelopment consolidated fund $300,000. So if you've paid $26,000 for the last 4 years, that's only $100,000 it's still owed.
And I think that
But at
number
some
I
point in
had was
time-
400,000 when I looked through some of the stuff. It was
Okay.
quite a bit of money.
So, I'm going to ask the clerk treasurer again if he thinks at this point that we should segregate those and have an accounting of how much money has been paid back and flow
Can
those
we
money.
ask him to do that? I think going forward.
We can, but, being
you
the
think?
elected fiscal officer, we can't make him do anything.
Well, I mean, he is the fiscal, but he is our treasurer of the RDC, correct?
He is,
So if we
and
don't,
he's been through Board of Accounts audit, and the Board of Accounts has never noted that.
but I would ask going forward, can we ask that?
We can, and I will gladly ask if you tell
Are
me
we
that
in
you
our
want me to do
prowess to
that.
ask that, Robert? I mean, as to your point, Jeff, I think starting to separate those until we either A, fix the TIFs, because we talked about that, bringing it back in, but I guess my other question is, so that money's not under appeal anymore, right?
Correct, that's money available for you to
Okay.
spend, and it's part of your general fund.
And we'll probably start losing that, though, once they start tearing it down.
No, the only thing I believe they are tearing down is what is already tax exempt that you're not getting any money from. I don't think they're tearing down anything that is currently in operation and taxable.
Because I thought because they're a non-for-profit, so I'm trying to picture, what are we getting the 26,000 from? Because they're tearing down the main tower.
Must be from the professional.
Are we getting the 26,000 from the parking garage tower
It
part?
could be the garage too.
Wherever, is it Alverno?
Alverno
Is that the one that is
farthest to the.
Is that the computer place on Churchman?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
whatever part of it that is not tax exempt is what you're getting the money from.
Alverno on the corner of, what would it be, 13th and Albany?
Alverno should be tax exempt because Alverno is a joint venture between the Sisters of St. Francis and another almost equally large or larger Catholic organization.
Visiting nurses.
Okay, are there other buildings in that vicinity that are not charitable or religious?
Medical arts.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, maybe that's where the 26,000 comes from.
Or was leased out to
right. Various doctor's offices.
Okay, that should be taxable.
Now, I noticed they're using about a third of that campus now for parking for visiting nurse service.
But that's owned by Franciscan, right? So we won't be able to touch that, or it wouldn't be counted. And what I'm wondering is, to your point, if the tower where they were leasing the offices to the doctors, if that tower was taxable, now that the visiting nurse service is taken over, will that in the future become non-taxable? You know what I'm saying? I just,
But the visiting nurses are in that corner building.
well, I'm saying, the tower with the parking garage, they were
Right.
they were converting that, and they were gonna open that this fall or winter, and that was gonna be the visiting nurse service.
Oh, it was? I thought they were staying in the building on the corner.
I
They're
understood.
just using it as a place for their logistics for their parking.
Right, I mean, that's still not clear, but I'm just saying that may be something in the future that Franciscan tries to,
Well, they said they were gonna bring back 300 or 400 IT jobs.
right,
I assume that tower's really gonna put,
right, well, I'm saying if that,
make it exempt again.
Yeah, so if they have private doctors in there at this point that they're
they don't
renting
have
to,
anything in there, they've gutted it.
Okay.
They haven't had private doctors in there since what, 2011 when they closed.
But it wasn't used for an exempt purpose at the time they shut it down, that's why there's probably.
And then I guess my other question is, with them tearing it down and it's no longer functioning, will we at least get taxes from the land? Okay. Anybody have any other questions? Well, if not, Jeff, thank you for coming tonight and doing this.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
I'm glad to finally find a solution for this. Like I said, I've been looking for years.
we'll get you, like I say, just let me know, and I'll let the board know when, if we need to have a special meeting or anything like that to keep this moving and get it doing, we'll do whatever it takes. I think it's such a worthy project, so. just
Thank you
keep
very
us
much.
Informed, and we'll do what we need to do, but thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
On that, I had to work really late tonight, and it's been a long day after Tuesday, so I didn't bring copies of the budget, but I sent you guys. Yeah, I emailed you guys
Yeah,
them,
we
and,
we looked at- I mean, we could see.
unless anybody has any huge issues we talked about, I was planning on submitting that on the 5th.
Sounds good.
Along with the goals, because we basically
Yeah.
approved it last month.
Yeah.
Again, the only thing I know for sure that the mayor's gonna come to us for, or we talked about, was around 95,000 for development. But we should have that, and we should still have 200,000 left in the bank next year if we don't spend
Development of,
the greenway.
oh, the Greenway.
Yeah,
I thought you were
next
thinking of
year's the
something
big-
new for us.
No, the next year's the big cost of the greenway. I haven't heard any other sectors of the city wanting money from us. I haven't heard back from that stop Beech Grove. I don't know if you guys have heard anything from them or not.
I went to that ceremony ribbon cutting that they had over at, I went to that. And they're wanting to build a $9 million building where the tennis courts are.
18 million,
18 million?
18. They're gonna get 9 from Ray Skillman and community and various other business enterprises.
Oh, I thought it
And they're
was
gonna
9.
try and fund the other 9 million either through another referendum initiative in a couple of years. But Paul Kaiser indicated, because of the sensitivity over the salary issue that came up recently, that he wants to wait and let that cool down
Before
and maybe
they hit
bring
us.
that up in 2018 or late 2017. He feels that by juxtaposing the two with the salary increase for the city officials and then another referendum, because we just had one a couple years ago for the schools, didn't we?
Last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, he feels
I
as
thought maybe
though
next
his chances of getting that through are not as good as if he delays that by another 12 to 18
What would
months.
this
I met
$18
with
million
him.
center do?
A place for the kids to go after school instead of
We're
run
gonna
the
spend
streets.
$18 million, in my opinion. We'd ought to build an aquatic center or a public pool that Beech Grove's never had.
It's a facility to at-risk kids.
I thought that's what we did at Hornet Park.
Well, I think they're wanting their own facility. I didn't take notes, I mean, there were a lot
I
of us at the meeting. Function, it was ribbon cutting. A lot of politicians were there, and,
You know, if we keep taking people's
It's-
money to
it's
pay
for
for these
kids.
facilities, we're gonna have more kids at risk, because mom and dad are gonna have to work longer hours to pay the taxes for this thing. I mean,
Well-
it's a never-ending story, and,
it is for kids.
you know, when you live, I mean, that's where I struggle, you know, in that. If you ever notice, like, small towns and medium towns, the nicest buildings are often public and schools, public offices and schools and fire departments. Most rundown areas are main streets and businesses. And, you know, at times I think government's much too greedy to take a lot of money from people. And I'm all for helping kids, but, you know, we spend a lot of money on these schools, and again, people at Beech Grove pay a lot in taxes, and
Well, and talked about the poverty level a lot. In the 70s, the poverty level for kids going to the Beech Grove school system was 5%. Now it's between 70 and 75%.
But-
Actually 80.
80?
but here's
He
my
said
thing.
70 and 75.
Go over to that school. If you have 80% of those kids in poverty at high school, I'll guarantee 80% of those kids in poverty have cell
Not
phones.
in high school. It's not high school. It's it's up to
I'm just
the
saying
middle
the
school.
poverty
Because the
works its
high
way
school
up, you know what I'm
kids-
saying?
Yeah, but the high school kids don't claim it. They don't claim that part. It's the younger ones. Not saying that what you're saying is not correct. You are correct.
I'm just saying, if you look at all the money we spend on poverty programs, and I guess that's what burns me up, is I think about all the money that we give for free and reduced lunch, and yet people still won't pay their kids' lunch bill.
Right.
I feel, you know, I look at all the money we spend on different terms of poverty programs, and yet people, you know,
Didn't we have a program not too long ago where every student was gonna get a Chromebook too?
oh, yeah.
I wanted
Well,
that.
Janice could probably speak to that. I don't know if that ever happened or
It
not.
did. They got what they needed. But that came from grants and stuff, that didn't come from
Right.
anything.
Right.
I'm just,
Okay, well, anyway,
is
that's what we're
Dr.
gonna be
Kaiser
hit with
planning on
next.
coming to us with it?
Yes, he indicated to me that depending on how the funding goes, he will be coming back to the RDC. He did not have a figure in mind, but a lot of things have to fall in place for this to occur, but he definitely
Right.
looked at the RDC as a viable option for contributing to the funding of this $18 million
I mean,
center.
that's, I mean, how much did it cost to build the high school?
I can't tell you.
You know what I'm
That
saying?
was
I mean, you know
years
what I'm saying?
ago.
$18 million, I mean, that is a
That's a
lot of
freshman.
money. I mean, the place they were talking about building over there in that CSX land was only 12 million, that was gonna be like 100,000 square foot facility. I mean,
I heard him say 9, but I'm sure Ron knows what he's talking about.
He had a 3-ring binder with pages that he flipped through when I was in his office 2 weeks ago.
I think I
And
was
his,
falling on the.
it was like a presentation, and he indicated he was going to approach Ray Skillman,
We don't have that.
he was going to approach Community Hospital. There was talk of maybe the YMCA managing it for them once it was a going concern. And he felt that he could get half the money from those entities and other business contributors, and then he would have to do a referendum on
I don't know how
you know,
much I would.
$60,000 per, $60 per 100,000 referendum on property
Right.
taxes on the ballot at some point.
That's a good point, Janice.
Sometimes negotiations can be screwed up when you talk about them in public and they're not done yet, so we probably shouldn't talk about them anymore.
that's fine, I don't disagree. Not that I'm sure anybody ever watches this, but you're probably right. So other than that, so we got the budget, we got the bond refinance. I'm still planning on not holding a meeting in December. As you all know, January, the city council, in its first meeting, will have the obligation to reappoint Janice, Kathy, and Ron by the mayor if he wants, and Mac and me are the city council. So I don't know if this is our last meeting or not. If we need a special meeting, I would ask that you all be available for that, but otherwise, I think we've had a good 2016. If we're all back in 2017, fine. If not, I've enjoyed working with all of you.
Absolutely.
You guys have all been a credit. You've worked tirelessly when asked. You brought ideas, and you've all done it very cheaply. So you guys are the best that we could find for the pay. So
I thought you were gonna lobby the city council
that
for us
money
to
could
get
buy.
raises too, Don,
yeah. So.
when you made your
But,
presentation.
I just want to thank all of you for your support, because you all have been really great, so I don't have anything else. If anybody has anything else or would like to contribute, please. If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned at, what is it, 7:46.